What up, guys? The Pixel Fold. We're going to talk about this device again 1 week later with this Fold. And what do I think about it after using this phone as my daily driver since I did receive it? Is it better than the Galaxy Z Fold 4? Is it a good thing for the market? Is it worth the price point? We're going to answer all of those questions today. I do have some video samples to show you, some more camera samples to show you. We'll do that a little later on towards the end of the video, and we'll just let that play with some music. But the Pixel Fold, $1,800 piece of hardware here, and let's talk about it. So look, I did drop a 48 hours later video, and this might sound a little similar because my thoughts are still the same. There's some good, there's some bad. This phone is not perfect by any means, but this phone does have meaning, especially to those of us in the United States. So outside of the US, you are able to get different foldables, shapes and sizes, and there is much more competition. Here in the US, Samsung, they have had a stranglehold on basically the whole market when it comes to foldables and flip phones. But now that we have some more competition, this will allow for, it's going to allow for companies to compete. And what that's going to do is bring the price point down eventually, not now. You know, this is their first gen phone. Same price as a Fold 4, $1,800, expensive as hell. Is it overpriced? Absolutely. Was the Fold 4 overpriced? Hell yeah, it was overpriced. These devices I can see right around $1,500. I talked about this in the last video, should be right around $1,500. Now, the hardware on here, the build quality of the Pixel is absolutely stunning. This is a very well-built device. The frosted finish on the back, it is very slippery, but that finish on the back does not allow for fingerprints. Now, the camera bump, again, you're going to show up some fingerprints, so not much you can do about that. Throw a case on the back like you see here from Bataka, and it will give you a little more grip because it is a very slippery phone. But back to the build quality, just a very impressive phone. It's heavy, it feels expensive, and it is. It's a very expensive phone, but the build quality at least does, it plays the part of an expensive device. Now, it's a heavy phone, and I talked about this in the last video as well. Can you walk around with this in your pocket? Sure, no problem. It's heavy, but it's not that big of a phone. It's a little thick, but it's not tall. It's about as wide as a normal phone. But because it's not very tall, it does fit in your pocket very easily. And, this is a heavy phone, but if you are an iPhone user, it's pretty much the same weight as an iPhone 14 Pro Max. And the iPhone is actually heavier if you throw a case on it. So we say heavy phone and a thick phone. There are phones out there that are not foldables that are just as heavy. So just keep that in mind when we talk about how heavy this device is. It's heavy because it's built out of good material, and it's a solid device, and it feels very premium. Now, the software on here, I haven't had any bugs, and we'll see how that goes over time with Google's software on here, basically stock Android. I love how it feels. If you're an iPhone user and you're thinking about switching to an Android device, I would definitely steer you away from buying a Samsung device. If you were an iPhone user, I would steer you towards something like a Pixel or even a OnePlus device. Those are more stock Android. Oxygen OS is very clean. And what Google has here on their devices, it's basically stock Android, and it feels like a closer representation of what we get on an iPhone. It's very clean, very easy to use, and very smooth. Now, I will drop a video on some of the first 5 things that you should do if you pick up this device. That is coming later on this week. Build quality, solid. Software-wise, so far, it has been solid, and that could change. And if it does for me, I will drop another video on some of the bugs. But right now, bug-free, I haven't had any issues with the software on here. And now we're going to take a minute. I'm going to play some beats. You guys can check out some of the photos and some of the video. What up, what up? This is the Pixel Fold, and what a beautiful day we have. We are at Cooper River out here in Jersey, and this is the front-facing camera. A little video, no processing, no nothing. Audio straight into the phone, and look at this beautiful scenery that I got going on here. This is Cooper River. This is where I run sometime. We got some sailboats over there. We got some boats. They always have like races out here. The colleges have races out here. There's a track behind me back there where everybody can go run and work out.
Just a nice day. We got a little table right here to chill on, right at the water. Let me try and get that in there. A little table right there to chill at. But this is the front-facing camera on the Pixel Fold. The audio quality, let me know how it sounds, but let me know how it looks too.
Now, a lot of the comments that I have seen, that I have heard, it's about the crease in the middle of the device. The device doesn't fold flat. You know, the bezels are big. And yes, basically all of that is true. It does have big bezels. It does have a crease in the middle. It is a folding device. All folding devices do. Some are worse than others. It's never bothered me. If you buy a folding phone, expect a crease. And the day that we get a folding phone that doesn't have a crease, well, then we can rejoice and act like it's the greatest thing we've ever seen. But right now in 2023, if you buy a foldable, you're going to get a crease. So stop complaining about a crease on a device that folds. It's a little bit ridiculous. Now, the bezels, I can understand. We have been spoiled lately, and we have gotten tons and tons of phone with no bezel. Now, the bezels on here, there is a reason for the bezels. They're just not there because they were lazy. There's a reason. We're getting a better camera. So would you like a little more bezel, or would you like a crappy camera? Which one do you want? I'm taking the better camera, and give me a little bigger bezel, because on the inner display, it doesn't matter anyway. You're getting the black bars on top and bottom when you're watching content anyway, so it really doesn't make a difference. And they also allowed us, well, they gave us a device, a foldable device that fully closes flat. So you're not going to get dust like the Z Fold 4. You're not going to get lint or anything from it being in your pocket that gets inside of your Z Fold 4. This phone does fold flat. So because of the way they built the hinge, they moved it kind of up a little bit and into the bezel, and then they made the bezel around that and then threw in a better camera on the inner display. That's why we have a bigger bezel. And I'm okay with that because there is so much screen real estate anyway that the bezel is kind of irrelevant. So look, would I like it to be smaller and still get the better camera and still get the good hinge on here? Of course I would. We're not there yet, but it's still good enough. Now, the display, the brightness on here, watching content on here. Yes, a lot of the apps are not optimized yet. It's a first gen product. Will some of the apps be optimized on here? Sure, they will. It's going to get better over time. More and more developers are going to update their apps to fit on this display, and then we can stop complaining about that on a first gen product. Understand this is a first gen foldable for Google. Now, multitasking on this device has been great. I don't have any issues with it. I don't multitask a lot on a foldable. I usually just stick to, if I'm watching YouTube on the inner display, I'm just going to watch YouTube on it. I'm probably not going to multitask. Every now and then I'll have YouTube open and Twitter, and that's basically it. But it's very simple to use. It's very easy to use, and I don't have any issues with the inner display, even with the bezels and with the crease. The crease for me is irrelevant. It's a folding phone. Right now in 2023, I expect to see a crease. I just expect it. And other than that, the display on here has been fantastic. Watching content, gaming, it's bright enough. It's bright enough indoors. It's bright enough outdoors. No issues at all. The speakers have been great consuming content on here. Are there better speakers out there on the market? Of course there are. Do these suck? No. I've seen videos out there, people complaining about the speakers. I don't know what they're complaining about. They're perfectly fine for me. There are better speakers out there on phones, but there are far worse speakers on phones as well. I'm okay with this. Would I like the best of the best for $1,800? Sure. Can Google get away with charging $1,800 right now? They can, because there is no other competition for Samsung. This, in my opinion, is a better device than the Fold 4. It's a better form factor. It has better cameras on it, and they're charging the same price. So I'm okay with that. And in my opinion, it's much better build quality than what we get on the Z Fold 4. And the Z Fold 5 is basically going to be the same phone as the 4 and as the Z Fold 3. So $1,800, yes, I would like the best of the best, but we're not there yet. We're not there. Hardware-wise, we're not there yet. We're getting there. We're just not there yet. Prices will come down. Competition is coming. OnePlus is dropping a Fold at the end of the year. So don't worry, in the next couple of years, foldables will be cheaper, and we're going to get more bang for buck. We always talk about value and bang for buck. This is the start of that for foldables. So moving forward with this now and with OnePlus and their foldable at the end of the year, prices will start to come down and we will get more value for our money. Now, my favorite thing about this phone is using it closed. I've said this for years, all the way back since the Z Fold 2. That's what I wanted on a device. I did try and use Z Fold 2, Z Fold 3, and Z Fold 4 for extended periods of time. But I would always have to open it up and use that as my main display. And I talked about this in the last video too. Like when I'm using the Z Fold 4, 20% of the time I'm on the outer display and 80% of the time I'm opening that thing up. This is exactly the opposite. I said 80-20 in the video the other day. Right now, it's probably more like 70-30. So 70% of the time, I'm using the device folded. And then 30% of the time when I want to binge watch some content, when I'm in bed chilling, watching content, then I have it opened. Or if I want to go on YouTube and Twitter at the same time, then I'll open it up. But the form factor on here, for me, this is by far the only form factor I need on a foldable. Moving forward, I do not need it any different than this. This display, when closed, it's absolutely perfect. Now, it's not tall. It's shorter than the candy bar phones we get today, but it is perfect for me. And drop some comments and let me know, what do you think about the form factor on the Pixel Fold? It does have some weaknesses, but not in build quality, not in form factor. For me, those two things are absolutely perfect. Now, the two things that I mentioned the other day, there's still a problem for me. The button placement on here, the power button with the fingerprint sensor in it, and then your volume up and down, they're reversed on Android device, on Samsung devices, they are reversed. And that's kind of what I'm used to. And other people are telling me, oh, we've been using Pixels for a long time. We're used to it. I've been using Pixels for a long time too. but those phones have in-display fingerprint sensors. So this is kind of my first time using a phone like this. You know, some of the Pixels I have, like the 5A, fingerprint sensor on the back. So that's just your pointer finger and you're good to go. I love that placement for a fingerprint sensor. And the in-display fingerprint sensor is a great place too. This is good too. I just have to get used to it. My buttons and my hands, they don't seem to work well together with this phone. I'm always hitting that button, hitting the volume up and down button, thinking that it's the fingerprint sensor, but I said it was probably a deal breaker in the last video. It is not a deal breaker. It's just something I need to get used to. Now, the one gripe about this device is the battery life. Battery life on here, I've seen some people get 5.5 hours, 5 hours. I'm averaging around 4 hours of battery life on here. I got to charge this thing up once, if not twice a day. Barely, well, no, it hasn't gotten me through one day yet. So let me know if you have this device and what kind of battery life you are getting. But if I have it, you know, at 100% in the morning, by 6, 7 o'clock, I'm charging it up again for maybe 30 minutes to just get another 30, 40% out of it, maybe 50% with a 30-minute charge. But the battery life is the one thing that I wish was better. And hopefully moving forward, we will get better battery life on the next gen of foldables from Google, but that is more of an efficiency problem. I think that's more of a Tensor chip problem. The battery life for the Tensor 2 has never been great on any phone that I've had, minus the 7A. 7A has good battery life, but this is a folding device with multiple displays, so you're going to get that, especially when you are using that inner display, battery will drain faster. So just keep that in mind. If you want to save a little bit, use the outer display a little more, but then, you know, what's the point of having a foldable at that point? You want to use the inner display as well. But look, 1 week with this device, this is my favorite foldable that I've ever used. And here in the States, I've only used Samsung foldables. So if there are other foldables out there that you like better that are not from the States, let me know, drop a comment. But here for me, this is the form factor I want. And now, one more thing, price, like $1,800. It's expensive. Can they charge it? Sure. Did a lot of people buy it? Absolutely. Is it overpriced? It is. It's overpriced by about $300. This is a $1,400 to $1,500 phone, and that's where we should have started. And at that price point, they would have sold a hell of a lot more. $1,800 is a bit much, although we are getting, you know, you get a free Google Watch with that, but $1,800, it's a lot of money. And it is overpriced by a few $100. But that's it, guys. 1 week with the Pixel Fold. It is my favorite phone, foldable, that I've ever used. It is just a very nice, it's like a breath of fresh air when it comes to foldables. You know, same old with the Galaxy Z Fold 2, 3, and 4. This is just a beautiful time to get something new. OnePlus is dropping something new. Competition is great. Let me know, drop some comments if you bought this phone or if you prefer the Z Fold 4. You know, we all have a preference. We all have our opinions, and I'm not saying you're wrong, and I'm not saying I'm right. This is just what I prefer in form factor, and just in using a foldable, this is exactly what I want. But that's it, guys. Hit that like, drop a sub. I'll be back soon. Peace.